Hi there. Welcome to another one of my Own Your Expertise interviews. I'm Emily Crookston, owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get those ideas out of their heads and into the world. Today, I'm sitting down with Helen Kang. Helen is a consultant who supports healthcare community and nonprofit organizations with writing and content generations. Hey, Helen, thanks so much for speaking with me today. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you do?
Sure. Thanks, Emily. I work with visionaries, dreamers, who are working to create a better world and a better ways to be in the world by helping them realize their vision through writing and content. And I often work with folks and organizations who are doing work in equity and social justice and supporting that vision.
Very cool. So this is a little bit of a shift for you, right? You were mostly working in healthcare and now you've sort of expanded your offering and moved from more of the writing to thinking more in terms of consulting. Is that right?
Yes, consulting and writing, I call myself various things. So for the past 4 years, I've called myself medical writer and policy analyst or research analyst, which are basically fancy words to describe writing and looking up stuff.
Right.
Or consultant. And it really varies depending on the context. And I mostly work with healthcare professionals and administrators who are building or revising systems of care, but also mission-driven, community-based nonprofits, artists, researchers, writers, small businesses. So if you look at my client list, it's quite varied. And I've kind of thought of myself as sort of Jill of all trades, but also felt a little bit uncomfortable that my business felt quite varied and maybe all over the place, and went in and out of feeling okay about it.
I like that. Yeah, I can see that because I think I find for myself that in the beginning of my business, people were always pushing like niche down and figure out who your ideal client is. And I always felt like, I don't know, and so I can relate to like going in and out of feeling okay about all that.
And what I've been finding is that I help folks transform their ideas into reality. And yes, writing and editing and research is part of what I do. But also I'm very much a collaborator and also a kind of a confidant. So because the journey of creating something new, where often there's no established narrative of how to talk about it, how to describe it, exists, it's a complex process of not only putting ideas into words, but thinking through the complexity of the ideas, and as you're also developing it over time. And so I'm sort of the person in their corner, reminding them that this is a great idea, asking questions they might not have considered, and sort of sharing in their passion and joy for their idea as we develop content together so that they can communicate that to their desired audience. And those terms are sort of in development for myself. I'm also trying to create something new and describe it. And it is a bit of a moving sort of thing that's in flux and somewhat ambiguous, but I'm embracing it as I support my clients to do so as well.
Awesome. That's great. I like that. How would you describe your path to becoming an expert?
The dominant sort of narrative around experts is that you know a lot of stuff, right? Like you can kind of either count the books or publication on your fingers, or you can list them, or your degrees, or your credentials. That's sort of.
Or you've been doing this thing for 10,000 hours.
Exactly. And I write that in my resumes and such. And coming from academia, where that's also very intensive in its own way, it was really difficult because, and I started to shed that idea, but it's an ongoing process because, that is sort of the dominant narrative, but it doesn't really align with my own values around compassion, empathy, community building, and sort of collaboration. So I'm trying to embrace a different way of looking at expertise as a commitment to a vision, as being in process, being reflective, and also sort of sharing with others sort of the things that come up that often people don't talk about. You know, having gone through that myself, in when I turned my dissertation into a book, a really large project, and sort of all the emotional ups and downs, as well as the technical ups and downs, right? In terms of how do I write this? And then also dealing with sort of, I can't do this, or it's not happening fast enough. All those things, having gone through that process, that's an expertise in itself. Not just the product of the book, but understanding the process and being self-reflective about it, and knowing how to then support others in their own journeys too. So that's been my journey.
I think it's really important what you're pointing out, that getting through a big project like that is a skill in and of itself. Like beyond being able to write or edit, or that itself is a skill that you can help give to your client. Now it's starting to get really clear to me what you mean by you specialize in transformation, because I'm seeing, like, you're right, that there's all these different moving parts, and it's really hard to say, you know, call it one thing, because it really is this complex, and the idea of collaboration being a part of it, and helping visionaries get that big vision, you know, in the tactical sense, and getting it, you know, out there, and getting past the mindset hurdles and all the other hurdles that can come up. So I can see, yeah, that's a really nice little, you know, niche that you've created for yourself. And yeah, the challenge is, what do we call it, and how do you explain it to people?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, I work mostly with folks in healthcare and community
Right.
nonprofits, because that's sort of been my world, just
Right.
out of my doctoral work, and also my
Yeah.
community work as an artist too. So
Yeah.
and they also shape like the work that I do, and
Right.
of course it can be offered to others as well, but yeah, but the work itself is very similar, even though, yeah, you have healthcare and community nonprofits. Okay, well, are they they're two different sectors in a way, but actually
Yes.
there are visionaries and dreamers in everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
including those sectors, and who are trying to create something new, taking risks. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I love it. So what would you say has helped you the most in learning to own your expertise?
Having a community of folks, friends, family, colleagues, to support me, to challenge me, to ask interesting questions, and also to reflect back to me what I do. So I often sort of forget or minimize the value of what I bring. And so I often have friends and my partner as well saying, well, you did this and this and this. Remember that? I'm like, oh yeah, right. It's hard to see your own like forest for the tree.
Yes.
We're
Exactly.
so immersed, right? We're so close. We're like right there. And so we're just chipping away at it. And then you have somebody, yeah, who you care about, you trust, who understands you. It's like, oh, I see the forest.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you for this conversation. It's been a really fun chat with you. Glad we got a chance to catch up and hear more about what you're doing. So that's exciting. Tell us where we can learn more about you.
You can find me on LinkedIn.
It's Helen Kang.
Yeah, Helen Kang.
Okay.
And also my website, helenkang.ca.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that you're in Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver. Vancouver, Canada.
Right. CA for Canada.